Blog Talk Radio.
Please take all the necessary precautions to protect your constitution while listening to this broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Coming to you live via the internet. It's time for Rage Against the Regime. Let's get ready to rumble! Finally, a show for patriots, defending the Constitution and uncovering the truth at every turn, bringing you exclusive interviews and covering the topics the mainstream media doesn't dare to touch. Call in and join the discussion at 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. And now, here are your hosts, Bobby Who's the Man and Becky Williams. Rage Against the Regime.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning, death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah.
Welcome Welcome to Rage Against the Regime podcast. Looks like I've got a little bit of noise in the background. I'm going to just mute that. 816, just muted your mic. You have a lot of noise in the background. If you wouldn't mind turning that off, I'll open your mic back up. This is Becky Williams with Rage Against the Regime podcast. Blog Talk Radio, Saturday open mic, opportunity for everybody to have a voice that would like to exercise that right today. We open that up and give you that opportunity. Today I am joined with the Honorable Judge Reed Chambers. We have another official who wishes to remain anonymous that will be calling in. I'm hoping that he makes it to the board because he's an elected official. He doesn't want his name used because then he's more of a target in his state for speaking up and helping us try to find a resolution and speaking truth. We've seen across the board, folks, that we have a huge issue going on, and I covered a bit of it, and I believe Bobby's covered some of it as well, where people who are speaking out are being targeted. And, folks, we're not just being targeted by the powers that be. We're being targeted by insurgents that are inside the Patriot movement. And I would like to cover a topic on that today. We have a very dangerous situation, and it's occurring more and more frequently within our groups, where we have individuals who, for lack of a better terminology, are cowardly little bastards. CI, which would be your informants, most likely they're folks who have caught a drug charge or a felony, and they work out a little deal with the authorities to come in and filtrate us and to cause dissension and disorganization and to take the minds of the patriots and bend them to create a division and question the character of people who are not guilty of anything but being a patriot. They are being slandered online, and in some instances, it's to a degree that actually is causing death threats to come in and people to make threats against those patriots. In my opinion, that's actually treason. Number one, if you don't know the person, do your damn homework that they're slandering. Check around, ask in the community. I mean, these people know each other. We all know each other out here, and for the most part, if we don't know each other, somebody knows somebody who knows you. But check the credibility of that individual. If you have to, follow them around and watch them. And if you don't find any evidence concerning the allegations, if you don't find any evidence of truth in the statements that are being made about them, stand your ass up, defend those people, and identify the individuals that are wreaking havoc on the rest of us. I'm not the only one in this situation. I've had several people come to me in PM who are leaders in the community, who are actively battling the powers that be, and they really want to make a difference in the community, but they're being stunted, if you will, or somebody's out there trying to discredit them, and we have to stop this. That's an act of treason. Listen, we are at war. People out there that think we're not at war already, not only with our own government, but entities from around the world that have come through that border, you might check yourself and do your homework. This isn't 1776. There are many tactics of war that are being used against us, and the reality is we're already at war. So, in my opinion, that is an act of tyranny for somebody to act like they're a patriot, to come in, divide and destroy based on nothing more than allegations and lies. These people are dangerous. And again, some of them will be federal employees because they're here And that's their job, is to infiltrate us and try to build a case against us. And that's their job. So you need to be able to use discernment, use your ability to understand awareness, the surroundings around you, characteristics of others. Don't just trust anybody. Check it out. So with that said, I want to touch on that subject today. That's why I called the show, or named the show, Neutralizing. We need to neutralize our opposition. We've got very little time to get done what needs to be done. You don't want to wait until you see the whites of their eyes, or they're in our streets implementing martial law, kicking doors in. Don't be ignorant, folks. We don't want to see a revolution in this country. But at the end of the day, if you don't get up and take a little more action, be more proactive in your endeavors than just bitching, we're never going to get anywhere. That's insanity. That's like you have a spoiled child who acts out, and you keep telling them, you keep warning them, you do that again, I'm going to whip you. You do it again, I'm going to put you in a timeout. You do it again, I'm going to take your toy. Do it again, you're grounded. And you just keep saying those things, but you never take action. You never back up what you initially have said and use your authority to straighten the situation out with your child and gain his or her respect. That's insanity. Well, it's the same thing that I'm seeing across the board being exercised in the patriot community. People bitching. On the keyboard, you're badass. You are so bad to the bone, it's not even funny. But when the call comes in for you to stand up and be present, you're absent. You're not there. You're not standing up. You haven't sacrificed anything because, oh, my God, sacrifice would just mean too much, Just can't be bothered to sacrifice your time or forego your friggin' McDonald's or your Olive Garden lunches, whatever you do during the week, keep lunch when you're out at work, or can't forego your Starbucks $5 cup of coffee because, damn it, you earned it, you work hard, you deserve it. Well, you do deserve it, but you're not going to have any of that if you don't learn to put your priorities where they need to be and take care of the situation that we're in. You see, they laugh at us. If we do not stand up in America, if we do not make clear to the powers that be, local, state officials, right down to Washington, D.C., if we don't make clear in numbers, folks, in the presence of numbers, able-bodied individuals, to stand up when there's a call and somebody has taken the time to paint a target on their head and organize or attempt to organize a movement showing force by voice of disdain for the injustices that are going on. I'm telling you right now, if you don't get up, we're toast. We're done. Everything that we do is for naught. Everything that we do will never effectively make change. It'll be nothing more than a bunch of people who suppress their immune systems by being angry all the time, going to bed angry, waking up angry, getting pissed off during the day, fighting amongst each other, because we're all adults here, but we have a bunch of people who like to act like they're in kindergarten to, junior high, running their puke hole, making up lies, starting shit, being manipulated, unable to make our own judgment call on certain situations and put our priorities in order. I'm going to quit rambling. I just want to give you guys an overview of what we're going to be talking about today, let you know my listening audience absolutely adore you, and I thank you for taking time out of your day to sit and listen to me and others rage on the regime podcast. Rage Against the Regime podcast. I'm sorry, I was reading something. I'm going to bring on, I believe this is going to be one of our guests. I'm going to bring him online and see how he's doing. 816 area code, you're on live. I've unmuted your mic. I see you have your background noise taken care of. Who've I got?
I think you unmuted me. This is 318.
318. I do apologize. I'm sorry. I thought you were Brother Reed Chambers. How are you doing? Who do I have today?
My name's Sarah. I'll just mute until you're ready to talk to me.
Hey, Sarah, I'm ready for you, sister. It doesn't look like the judge is on yet. He doesn't have his hand up. You're the only one. Sarah, welcome to Race Against the Regime.
Say, that was a pretty good rant. I didn't catch it from the very beginning. I was busy, but the last part of it, I think that was a very good rant. Because
Thank you.
I've been researching for about 6 years now, and it takes a lot of skill to get the truth. And there's a lot of false information out there, and I try to verify everything I research. And it's hard to do, but then there's some stuff that's easy to do. I mean, if you're not sure about a story or something, you call friends, you Google it, you check more than one source. And it takes time. I mean, because over the years, people that I trusted at one time, I don't trust anymore because you find out that they have a lot of mistruths. And even researchers that try very, very hard make mistakes. But then you just say, oh, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I didn't research it.
Yeah.
But, I think your rant was real effective because, and I understand there's a lot of people that are on the keyboard that aren't able to do things.
Sure.
Whether health reasons or no finances or whatever. But even if you're not able, I mean, you could do better by doing better research, too. If you're just sharing a bunch of garbage on Facebook, you need to research what you're sharing because so much misinformation gets out there. I'm going to take something I just learned about an hour ago. I did not know that Sheriff Mackett had a heart attack. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I happened to run across a GoFundMe page from his son.
Oh,
and
Lord.
It seems like, I want to say he had a heart attack on February 14th. Don't quote me because I'm not looking at the article. But
okay.
So he has a GoFundMe thing. And now that's somebody right there. If you can't really get up and go do something, you might want to send $20 to his GoFundMe or something because that man has spent, time, effort, his safety, everything for this cause, trying to save America. And now he could use a little help,
And we need to get behind folks like that. Like I said, I just want people to do their homework. I want them to, anytime you hear misinformation on another patriot that you may or may not perceive as misinformation, we're all grown here. Check the people out and see for yourself. Don't listen to some jackass that's running their puke hole. We've already identified 3 feds in the groups that infiltrated the groups that they come in and they're eager-handed to extend every effort that they can personally to support a particular movement or a group, and they make sure that they know who the top leaders are. Those are people that they're always in the know with and always have the phone number of, and that's a huge red flag if they're not a very open and public figure, like myself and some of the others that'll be on the panel today. Why the hell would a nobody who has 14, 15 accounts that they keep changing their profile and they keep causing drama follows them, and the leaders that they target to discredit or destroy the movement that they're attempting to make to organize an event where we can get numbers out there to be effective as a whole, that's a huge red flag, people. They're out there. Just really, we're not children. We are absolutely grown adults, and it's causing a lot of division, and we're running out of time, Sarah. It's my opinion that those...
I think we've been out of time for over a year. But,
well, Sarah, let me ask you a quick question.
All right.
Concerning that, you think we're out of time as well. When do you see a collapse coming, if you have a thought on that based on your research? I'm surprised we haven't done I'm surprised we
well,
haven't done
actually,
that yet.
you know, in 2011, of course, I'm going to be honest with you, in 2010, 2011, there was a lot of people out there I believed that I no longer believe. Let me just put that out there right now. But in 2011, you know, I was going here and there, reading this, that, you know, they're YouTube this, YouTube that, and all these so-called people that at the time I thought really knew what they were talking about. You know, we were supposed to have a financial collapse in March of 2011. Then it was going to be June, then July, then it's going to be December, da-da-da-da-da. Well, now it's 2015. And it has slowly been happening. I mean, don't get me wrong, the financial collapse is teetering. But, you know, we were all led to believe, you know, we were just going to wake up one day and the stock market was going to be around 8,000 and there's going to be chaos in the streets and people going crazy and blah, 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 blah. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I mean, it's slowly happening. All you got to do is see what's going on. You know, the oil business is collapsing in Texas and Louisiana. There's a game being played between OPEC and us and Russia and China and the BRICS and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, all these pundits out there that tell you that they're experts at this, that, and the other, and they tell you this is going to happen and that's going to happen. So, you know, honestly, I don't know who to believe anymore. That's why I just kind of trust my own research and try to figure it out for myself. But our collapse is already slowly happening. It's just happening slowly instead of overnight. You know, utility bills have gone up, your house insurance has gone up, your car insurance has gone up, your paycheck's gone down, or you're unemployed, or your hours have been cut. Now we've gone, in 1 year, we've gone from $92 million to $100 million on food stamps. Of course, that's the government accountability, so who knows if that number's true or not. But the biggest thing is what's happened the last 2-3 days in Washington with this back and forth between the Senate and the House and the amnesty bill and the funding of the DHS and all this stuff. If you were trying to follow it, even the smartest of the smartest, it's almost impossible to follow. All I knew is there was a chess game going on, and I couldn't figure out the chess game. And I'm still not 100% sure, but it's just everything they do up there is a ploy. When they don't even know what they're doing, how are we supposed to figure it out? You know.
Well, that's true, and you definitely hit the nail on the head. They keep coming at us. It seems that, first of all, we all know that the media manipulates the psyche of the population. They are in complete control of what we do and don't know. I say we. I'm going to say the population in general, not we, because we're intelligent enough to take our God-given ability and to research and find other sources. You know, but they manipulate.
Here's the famous saying for what you're talking about. The general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know that it doesn't know. So, you know, that's pretty much it.
That sums it up. That you talk about stupid. That is pure bliss. And I'm not calling them stupid. Please don't misunderstand me in the term that most people would think. It is irresponsible not to know what's going on, but it's also that situation where they don't realize they're being irresponsible because they don't even know that they don't know. And most of them are not receptive to the truth. Those people, there are a lot of people out there that you could hold a rattlesnake in front of them up and they would still swear to God and argue that it's a grass snake. You know, I mean, they're just those kind of trolls out there that are so mentally, they're so weak and incapable of receiving truth. And, you know, they just won't get on board with it. I don't care. You can argue all day long with trolls. I don't even waste my time with them anymore because my time is very valuable. I'm a very busy woman. I'm guest host on other shows. I host this show. I have a business that I run. I have 2 households I take care of, and I still find time to do my research, and I'm building a new business. So I'm a very busy individual, but I pride myself on stinging people with the truth. Have I been wrong to some degree sometimes in how I deliver it? Yeah, probably so, but there's a method to my madness, and I don't need to explain that to anybody. It's working right now. it's serving its purpose. I certainly would be considered a very outspoken and at times, even been accused of being radical. But there are just some things that are not working, and we try other avenues to raise awareness and to rise the passion in others. And mine is to be blatantly truthful, be blatantly outspoken, and sometimes my delivery really sucks. I know it. I can be vulgar. I can be foul-mouthed in my attempt to wake America up. But I'll tell you what, it's brought us a whole lot of listeners. We're being listened to by 26 other countries on Spreaker and Blog Talk, and we've got a broad audience of over 500,000 people, and we've done that in 8 months. So people are getting the message. And if it takes me being of that character to draw the audience to us, to get them to start paying attention and to do the research, then so be it. It has to be done. I'll be that person.
Well, I didn't look this up personally, but a friend of mine did. They said they went to Blog Talk and went to the search bar and searched in conservative news people. And there's very few conservative news people on Blog Talk. I don't remember the number she came up with, but it wasn't very many. So there's not that many. I always thought there was because all the Blog Talk I listen to is conservative, but that's just me. But let's go back to this Congress thing. While I have this pulled up. This Congressman, Jeff Duncan, he spent the night in the chambers of the House. I don't know if it was last night or the night before. I'm not real sure. But anyway, the reason he did that is so they couldn't pull a fast one on him. And he said, I'll just read this real quick. He said, this is Congressman Jeff Duncan. He said, I'm sitting here in an empty chamber to prevent anyone from passing anything with unanimous consent. Also, as a disclaimer, not trying for this to be inside baseball, but I want to provide you with the lay of the land. So he sat there all that night, whether it was last night or the night before, and while he was there, he just tried to write what was happening because it's so confusing. He said, weeks ago, the House passed a DHS funding bill that fully funded DHS, but included language that would block the president's executive actions on immigration. Now, Republicans, myself included, oftentimes say defund. While that's not inaccurate, the more appropriate language would probably be to say block, and I'll explain why. The Senate has tried to take up a vote in the House bill for weeks, but Senate Democrats have been filibustering. Therefore, a vote on the House-passed language was not allowed to move forward. Yesterday, there was some movement on this issue. The Senate voted to end the initial filibuster by a vote of 98-2. Okay, so see, I'm going to stop right here because when this news report first came out, the propaganda, we were all led to believe there was only 2 people in the whole Senate that voted for us on our side, blah, 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 blah. Well, they were voting to end the filibuster. See, when you're just reading the headlines, they're putting thoughts into your mind. Okay, let me see where I was here on this. So the 98-2 vote was to stop the filibuster. That's what that was. Here he goes. Here's the catch. The agreement to end the filibuster included offering amendments on the House language that blocks the executive actions and another amendment that took out the House's language on what some in the media are calling a clean spending bill. The amendment to keep the House language only received 57 votes. The next vote in the Senate to remove the House-passed language and received more than 60 votes, which allowed the Senate to send the bill back to the House. This is where things get a little tricky and confusing, even for us. Option 1, to pass the amended House bill that did not stop the president's executive actions on immigration. Option 2, amend the bill back to its original state, which included the language we need to stop the president's executive action and send it back to the Senate. Option 3, vote to go to a conference committee and work out the differences of the 2 bills. This is this guy again. He says, I have been fighting against option 1 for weeks, and there's a lot I've been doing behind the scenes as well to encourage leadership to go that route. Option 1 is a complete surrender to the president. Option 2 is not a bad course of action, but doesn't really help us much. If we send the bill back to the Senate Democrats can just filibuster it again. That's why everybody wants McConnell to do what Harry Reid did and do the nuclear option. That's what all that's about. Okay, back to this guy. However, option 3 has an upside. If the bill has gone to conference, it cannot be filibustered. Therefore, if we go to conference and add the House blocking language back into the bill, when it goes back to the Senate, and it will pass or fail on a simple majority vote. This allows us to send the bill to the President's desk, which should be our next course of action. Now, you see, if you're just reading what all these pundits are putting out, number one, it's so hard to understand. I mean, I could have read 10 articles and didn't get as much out of the 10 articles as I did out of this guy.
Wow.
It says, the 3-week continuing resolution failed, so now we're back at the drawing board. There's a lot of pressure on GOP leadership to cave to pressure by moderates in the GOP and Democrats and just pass a clean DHS appropriations bill. Now, Quamnibus, let me see if I can get this right. Quamnibus, back in December 14th, 15th, 16th, they passed the Quamnibus, and that was to fund the government up to September. That was to fund everything but DHS. And see, that's where I made a mistake, because I thought Quamnibus had included the DHS and that all this fighting was just over DAPA, DAPA. Then I went back and found that, so I had to correct myself because I was wrong.
Right.
Of course, they expect any bill that does the president to be vetoed, but he said, anyway, he says, I apologize for the long post, but I always want to do my best to explain what's going on. Bottom line, this is more than about immigration. This is about defending the Constitution and upholding the rule of law. I am bound by oath, as we all are, as your representatives, to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Presidents are not kings and shouldn't be allowed to act as such. We must protect our separation of powers. We must not allow a president to make law on their own. This is the crossroads of America. It is time to get engaged. So, anyway, that's why this whole thing going on is so confusing. And I just kind of want to put that out there. I may not have made it any less confusing from just reading these headlines that have been going by every 4 hours the last 2 days. It just makes you just want to quit reading because it's too hard to figure out what they're doing. You know, one headline says McConnell and Boehner caved. Another one says they didn't. Another one says this. Another one says that. So, it's really hard to figure out what's going on.
Here's the problem. When the 14th Amendment was put into the U.S. Constitution, it was and the 13th Amendment was abolished. First of all, this was a criminal abolishment and a criminal implementation. But what we see across the board is, go ahead.
You know the story of the original 13th Amendment, don't you, that's gone missing?
No.
That's a whole other show. I'll talk to you about that later.
All right, we'll do that. But the point being, and a lot of people may not know this that may be listening in, is that legalese plays a huge role in what's going on and the problems that we're having. Lawyers were never meant to hold office. In fact, it was forbidden. And so they've made this process far too complicated for the average person, if you will, to understand even the logistics or the language in which they use to create and pass these illegal chokeholds. I have Judge Reid on the line, Sarah. He's having a problem getting in and out, and when I tried to unmute him, apparently it bumped him. So I have the Honorable Retired Judge Reid Chambers II on the line. Brother, I've unmuted your mic. You've been listening. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Oh, my goodness. Where do I start?
Yeah.
So let me start with your first 2 minutes of your soliloquy when you said that, make no mistake, we are at war. And some people will shake their head because they're purists, and they say that Congress has not declared war, therefore we're not at war. So I would like to reorient everybody's thinking to the real world instead of aesthetics. Number one,
thank you.
If you get your automobile insurance policy or homeowner's insurance policy out and start reading what's called the exclusions, these are occurrences for which you have no insurance coverage at all. It's called exclusion. You get no coverage whatsoever for damages occurring in wars declared or undeclared. So under insurance law, we recognize that wars occur whether they're declared or not. Secondly, we have a situation with a president that has, through treachery, opened the borders to all comers. And in addition to the economic refugees, we've had flooded into the sovereign soil of the United States a great many tens of thousands of Mexican drug cartel criminals, street criminals, MS-13, all kinds of street criminals of every stripe and description. These are armed foreign nationals. The definition of an invasion is when an armed foreign national is on your soil and misbehaving. So, in my view, the United States of America and the several states have been actually invaded through the open borders apparatus. In addition to the actual invasion, we absolutely know for a fact that we have jihadists that have come in from the Middle East. We have Russians, we have Cubans, we have North Koreans, we got Red Chinese, we got spies and saboteurs of all stripe and description. We've got sleeper cells. And for many decades to come, it will take a long time for us to clean out the rat's nest because of President Obama's treachery. And there I had a slip of the tongue. I actually called him president, although I do not believe for one moment that he has ever been president of the United States. I hold that he is not a citizen of the United States. He is a citizen of Indonesia, where he was adopted as a minor, and he was born abroad. In no instance that I have ever once thought that he's the actual and real president of the United States. Because of the constitutional language that if the president-elect shall fail to qualify or shall die, the vice president-elect shall take the term of office of the when that happens. So, legally, in my view, not only has Barack Obama never been president of the United States at all times since noon, January 20th of 2009, the lawful president of the United States has been Joe Biden. However, he has failed to step up to the bar and claim the office that he was elected to, twice elected to. And because he's already been twice elected and was the lawful president at all times for the last 6 years, I believe he is constitutionally barred from being elected to a third term. So that's my view on wars declared and undeclared and the current invasion in full force and effect. Now, I think you have some things to discuss with me. What's on your mind?
Well, Judge Chambers, I'm so glad that you asked me. I have a little word through the grapevine that you and another gentleman may be stepping up to the plate to run in the 2016 presidential election. And
I can verify that I have had feelers. I have had feelers placed to me, and there's been several telephone calls from somebody that is running for president of the United States and has put some feelers out about whether or not I would be available to be a running mate in 2016. I can confirm that, but I cannot make anything more public than that.
Okay.
Other than to say that as a Tea Party leader, and I happen to be National Executive Director of the U.S. Tea Party Loyalists, we want to create in Iowa a Tea Party National Assembly with an integrated Tea Party presidential preference convention. And we want to elect one Tea Party delegate from each of the several congressional districts in the United States. That's 435 of those folks. And at the Tea Party state conferences, elect two delegates, and that would give us exact number of voting delegates as there are in the Electoral College. However, there's also certain individuals such as Tea Party members of Congress that are members of the Tea Party caucus and Tea Party public officials, and also talk radio shows hosts with a national reputation that I think we should make super delegates, that if they wish to attend, they are more than welcome. So that is the plan. And if the will of that Tea Party presidential preference convention to endorse a candidate for president and vice president of the United States, well, then I would, if chosen by that convention, well, then I believe that I would do what I have done before, and that is be elected to public office. Now, a lot of people have heard the sound of my voice may be listening to me for the very first time, so let me just take a brief moment to introduce myself. I've been elected and appointed to various government posts at all three branches of state and local government. I've been elected as a representative and a legislator when I lived in Bristol County, Massachusetts, in a town called Seekonk. It's a suburb of Providence, Rhode Island, and I was a legislator there. In the judicial system, I was appointed Deputy Circuit Court Administrator in Jackson County, Missouri. So I actually worked in the courts. In the executive branch of government, I sat on a board of appeals where taxpayers would appear before me and appeal their real estate and personal property tax assessments, and I had the authority to overrule the county tax assessor. So how interesting for a Tea Party person to actually have the power by law to cut somebody's taxes. So I can honestly say that while we had the authority to raise taxes and to cut taxes both, I never once voted to raise taxes. I was also appointed first a judge and then a supervisory judge by the Missouri Governor's Commission that conducts federal, state, and local elections in Jackson County. I've said the name Jackson County a couple times. Read that as the metropolitan county where Kansas City is. Harry Truman's home county, his hometown was Independence, Missouri, where the county seat is. I graduated from a high school in Independence, Missouri. So I've had several executive branch appointments, served in the courts and in the legislative branch. In the diplomatic world, I served at the William J. Randall Federal Building at the Consulate of Malta as special advisor and also as their chief of diplomatic security. So like the Secret Service protects the president, I had a responsibility to provide dignitary protection to the British Lord, who was accredited to the U.S. Secretary of State as the consul to Missouri. He was also special envoy to the United Nations, the hereditary governor of the island of Malta, which is in the Mediterranean Sea between Sicily and North Africa, and the Grand Master of the 900-year-old Order of Knighthood, the Torquati Oriate di Malta. I have the honor of serving the Baron Marcel as his squire in heraldry, and he presented me with a unique coat of arms, hereditary, drawn by the Herald of Schwalenberg, who is in the College of Heralds for His Serene Highness, the Prince of Lippe-Biesterfeld, for which the Maltese consul also, by extraordinary appointment, served as King of Arms and Principal Herald. So I have a somewhat interesting background. When I was with the consulate and chief of diplomatic security, I carried a city police commission as a police colonel. Further, in 2001, I was acclaimed by proclamation of the governor and congratulated as being Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year, and served on the Board of Commissioner and presiding commissioner of a volunteer fire rescue squad. I personally wrote Senate Bill 47, which was passed into public law in Missouri in 2007, part of Chapter 320, the Missouri State Fire Protection Code. I was the author of Missouri's Volunteer Firefighter Job Protection Act that provides that if any ambulance responder or search and rescue individual or firefighter goes under contract with FEMA to attend to a federal disaster, even if they're gone for months and months, just like being in the National Guard when federalized, these emergency responders are guaranteed to return to their civilian jobs. They cannot be fired. And if they are wrongfully dismissed or disciplined in any way or demoted, or they're provided coverage even for arriving at work late or leaving the workplace early, if it's in response to an emergency response. So I wrote that law. So I have a deep interest in government and civics. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. During the Iranian hostage crisis, I was in Iowa going to college, and a man sat down at the table where I was eating a hamburger, asked me if I was Reed Chambers. And I looked at him, and I didn't know how to respond to that because he looked like some sort of deputy marshal or something. But anyhow, he says, "Yeah, you are." Hands me his business card. Full color seal, Central Intelligence Agency, Chicago office. And in 1979, the Iranian hostage crisis was in full swing, where the Iranian students had overrun the American embassy in Tehran, Iran, and had taken hostage for 444 days until the day Ronald Reagan was inaugurated, the American diplomats. So the CIA guy asked me if I knew any Iranians. Well, they were students. And I said I did. Long story short, he said, well, you're a military veteran, a Navy, have police experience. You're exactly who we're looking for. So during the Iranian hostage crisis, I became a CIA asset and recruited Iranian students on American college campuses. So I have a very unusual spectrum of personal experiences, having served in all three branches of state and local government. The Republican Party has nominated me in their primary elections to be their candidate to be county executive of Jackson County, and I received over 50,000 votes in that race. And twice before, I was nominated to be state senator by the Republican Party from Jackson County, Missouri.
Wow. That's a whole lot, brother. I mean, your accolade is huge. Listen.
I've been busy. Yes, I have.
Can I share with the folks the invitation that you gave to me in the event that you run?
Yeah, please.
Or better yet, let me let you share that. Go ahead. Please tell the folks, because I'm so honored.
I have been interested in Becky Williams for a while because of her fresh viewpoint. She's not a canned candidate when she ran for governor of Texas. Her viewpoint is refreshing, and I was honored to be one of her advisors. So after I was approached by a presidential candidate, at this point remained nameless, and asked to consider being a 2016 vice presidential running mate, I contacted Becky Williams and asked her forthrightly if she would be willing to be a presidential elector pledged to myself in the event I run for vice president of the United States. Under the U.S. Constitution, I'm going to remind everybody, the members of the Electoral College cast separate written ballots for president and separate written ballots for vice president. So I've invited Becky Williams to be a presidential elector from the state of Texas.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Sarah? Are you still on? Sarah?
No, yeah, I'm here. I was just sitting here listening and thinking, I went to the RNC convention in Tampa, and I saw how they ran it. And I saw how they ran caucuses against Rand Paul and how they changed the rules every 3 weeks, and how, like in Shreveport, Louisiana, they had a big fight right in the middle of their caucus because they changed the rules right there. So I'm like going, well, it all sounds good. I sure hope they don't, I don't know. I just don't have any faith in the RNC convention. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I just don't know how.
Well, the Republican Party is emerging in an unattractive method. They are becoming roughshod in their tactics, and they step on little people. And when the Tampa conference was going, at that time I was living in Las Vegas, Nevada. And even though I had moved from Missouri to Las Vegas and was not even there for a year yet, I was elected by the Republicans of Clark County, Nevada. You can read that as Las Vegas, population 2 million in that county. I was elected to be a member of the Republican State Central Committee in Nevada.
Okay.
And our Republican Republican National Committee woman personally briefed me as to her displeasure with the Tampa rules that are designed to stifle grassroots efforts.
Yeah, I was doing a radio show back then, and we actually were there doing our radio show. And I actually interviewed Texas as they walked out. And there was some red-hot mad cowboys when they walked out of that convention.
Yes.
So I interviewed them.
There have been people in high places that have personally told me they don't know how long they can continue being a Republican.
Oh, I've already jumped that fence. I went independent. But each to their own.
by definition, the Tea Party is an independent political organization. We're not a third party. We're a pressure group. We are a conservative pressure group. So, my battle plan for the Tea Party, and as National Executive Director, I guess I have a right to have a view on that, is to have all the locality Tea Parties that operate in cities to also periodically gather together and have a joint meeting as the county convention, the Tea Party County Convention. And at the Tea Party County Convention, I want grassroots ideas for new state laws. I imagine in Texas, one of the grassroots ideas might be, hey, let's reestablish the Republic of Texas. But in other places, who knows what would be on the hearts and minds of the people. And then periodically also gather all the Tea Party groups in a congressional district. And I call this the Congressional District Caucus. And they do the same thing there except federal. And I want ideas from the floor on new federal laws, like balance the budget. I imagine would be near and dear to an awful lot of hearts that meet at the Congressional District Caucus. Then periodically, all the Tea Party groups in the whole state, and because the Tea Party is fractured and the Tea Party Patriots and the Tea Party Express and independent Tea Party groups, I'm saying this is an umbrella, all Tea Partiers welcome, state conference. And at the state conference, all the ideas from the county conventions and the Congressional District Caucuses are docketed, and it's the state conference then that whittles down the list of the 10 most wanted state laws and the 10 most wanted federal laws. All these are sent to every member of the state assembly and also that delegation of that state to the U.S. Congress. And now we have a litmus test. If they vote for all 10, they got a 100% state Tea Party rating. If they vote for 9 out of 10, we got a 90%. But if they have a 70% or worse Tea Party rating, well, then we guarantee them an opponent in the next primary election. So we have both the carrot and the stick within the Tea Party. And to help them be on the straight and narrow, I've created a Tea Party affinity group that is called the Tea Party Candidates Prep School. And people such as myself that have won elections before are mentors to be able to give guidance and counsel to people who want to run for public office, similar as that I offered advice to Becky Williams when she was running for governor. So with the mentoring of the Tea Party Candidates Prep School, we will have a number of candidates waiting in the wings, ready, able, and willing to run against people who fail to get a 70% or better state Tea Party rating. So
yeah, because
then we have in Iowa the Iowa caucuses, the first in the nation actual votes to elect delegates to the presidential conventions. So just a few weeks prior to that event in 2016, in January, I'd like to convene in Iowa the Tea Party Presidential Preference Convention. And it's that body that will endorse someone to be the Tea Party's choice for President and Vice President of the United States.
I mean, we're going to have to do something. I just hope that we haven't, because after the 2012 election, I started my kick on, we got to do something now. We can't wait. We need to make a move now. And, you can't just wait to, you can't just wait till a year before the election because there's so much adversity. There's so much politics, for lack of a better word. There's so much deceiving. There's so much. And, a lot of people feel now we only have one party anyway. Between the
incumbent party.
Yeah. And, there's just so much going on behind the scenes, just like I was trying to kind of tell that story about this congressman that stayed up all night and sat in the chambers to keep him from pulling some shenanigans and trying to explain what was really going on in the last 48 hours because it's so confusing. And then if you just read the headlines of all these news stories and political pundits, and they're all, trashing this one and that one, you can't really figure out what's really going on. Even if you read it thoroughly, you can't figure it out. But, and I want to, and I'm a volunteer firefighter also, so I want to thank you for your job you did to help firefighters out, your EMS. I have a background in EMS, so. Anyway, that's for sure. I certainly hope we have an election in 2016. they're certainly in a big hurry to try to finish destroying the country in the next 20 months.
I think we're seeing across
Becky,
the board that
earlier today, Becky, you asked earlier whether or not we're going to have a collapse.
Yes.
I think we are in the present situation having a slow motion collapse as we speak today.
That's exactly what I thought.
Remember that we went off the fiscal cliff. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
We just haven't hit bottom yet.
Right. I think it's happening, but they've slowed it down a little, so we're getting a little piecemeal here and there. Because, all the pundits 3 years ago were like, like if you heard me before, they acted like we were going to wake up one morning and it was going to be all over, done, blah, blah, blah.
Let me draw some comparisons for a moment of 1950, when the average American could buy a house for $10,000 and a brand new car for $800.
Right.
All right. So the houses are bigger. The cars are more intricate today. They're computerized. They have sound systems and stuff that we didn't have in 1950. But they also cost $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000.
Right.
Or more.
Exactly. This means that whether it was a jug of milk or a loaf of bread or whatever, the actual cost of living has thrown at us through inflation a depreciation of the value of our money.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking that prices are rising, I'm going to invite everybody to take the reality view is that the price did not rise, the value of your money went down. So now you have to put more of it to buy the same thing. And through the manipulation of the money, they have, in fact, bankrupted us many times over. And worse, we have scoundrels in Congress that has put policies in that we give money away for free as federal grants to nations abroad and aid, and we forgive loans that when we made them we knew they would never repay. Every time they take money in a snow shovel and just throw it over their shoulders and throw it away, it hurts the economy. We've imported all these illegal aliens, and yes, they do work, and then they take and wire some of their money home to Mexico or other places. This dollar drain is a real problem.
Yes,
it's economic terrorism.
And it's been manipulated for years and years and years, and it's just now coming to fruition, so to speak, because, they're trying to dissolve the currency and all this other stuff that would take hours to go into. But, the financial thing, has certainly gotten much worse the last 6 years. But
well, that's why I recommend that the people in the several states amend the state constitutions now to have a Plan B state constitutional amendment. What is the policy of this state after the collapse of the United States of America? Upon the repudiation of the U.S. dollar abroad and the collapse of the USA, what is this state's policy? Will we become an independent nation or join with other states to join a new union?
Wow. You guys, I've got another caller with their hand up. I would like to bring Greg in. Greg, I've unmuted your mic. You have some interesting information to share with us today as well. Greg, can you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, I'm Greg, and I have some information from whenever a catastrophe is called in, they call in what they call a CAT team. And right now, one of the insurance companies that is owned by and run by and for military veterans, I don't need to mention their name, everybody knows who they are. They have recruited and is their number one vendor in a hailstorm situation to right and repair their hail damage on their members' vehicles, and they are a Russian company and are bringing in Russian students on student visas and taking away the money from the companies in the U.S. that do the same thing. We have met with this company, and they will not let us do this. They will not give us the same opportunity that they've given the company out of Chicago that is Russian-based and Russian-owned. They've opened up their iClouds to them. They've given them opportunity to make millions, not hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. When we asked them, do you honestly think, and I am a U.S. Air Force veteran, and when we asked them, do you honestly think that the veterans would want Russian students working on their vehicles and repairing them and taking money away from the United States and sending them back to Russia? The gentleman who we were talking to said, we really don't care. We really don't care if they would want them to or not. That's who we're using.
Let me interject just a second, because I'd be willing to bet from some of my previous research that this is going through the Chicago Exchange. It's also so-called CXR, I believe. CX something. The Chicago Exchange is a group out of Chicago that runs a whole lot of different businesses and stuff, and I can't go into a whole bunch of details because I don't remember all of them.
Well, they have huge money to back them, that's for sure.
Right. I would be willing to bet that's exactly where their backing coming from.
Right. The dent company's name is High Tech, and they are associated with many different people from Russian descent, and they are bringing people over who don't speak English that are being titled as students, but I think as law reads that students aren't supposed to come over and take jobs from American
I can confirm
industry.
that students are not supposed to work. Yeah, students are not supposed to have a job.
Am I still on?
You are. I can hear you.
Okay. I got interrupted there a little bit, but anyway, they don't want the veterans to know who's fixing their cars, and they don't feel like it's their right. But literally millions of dollars are being spent on, and veterans not knowing who is getting it.
Well, I'll tell you what, across the board, we're seeing more and more of our industry being given to foreign entities, and I think one of the things that hasn't been touched on enough across the board, and I really feel what you brought to the table today plays a huge role in the discussion that Sarah and the judge were having about the financial collapse. It's a very well orchestrated event that we're seeing unfold, and we're not just seeing the outsourcing. We are seeing the insourcing by way of invasion, and that's what you're speaking about. Correct?
Right. Well, they're giving every ranking officer from private clear up to general's information to a company that is not an American company. I mean, and then they wonder how things get messed up and how all of this information gets to Russia. Good grief! By the time that we went over there and watched the Olympics, they already knew where we were from and what we were doing there. And this is opening up an iCloud that's just full of our military people's backgrounds, what their ranking is, their addresses are, where they live, what they do for a living. That's exactly right.
And
they've opened up their iClouds to these people, and the veterans have no idea. And you can go to their website. There is not an American affiliated with that company.
Well, Greg, that's very disturbing. And Sarah, you touched base. I read an article that you had written up. Actually, no, it was a conversation that was had concerning the new internet takeover and the FCC situation. How do you feel that might play into what Greg's stating? Because we all know that iCloud is nothing more than an information highway for NSA and the likes of those folks in the alphabet agency. Sarah, how do you feel that's playing into that?
Well, I'm not extremely high tech. I really don't even understand the cloud. But all this week everybody's been screaming that Congress needs to defund the FCC. So, like I said, it doesn't take much Google research. FCC is it's mandated by jurisdiction. It covers all 50 states, but it is funded by regulatory. Their budget is $354 million. So it's funded by regulatory fees. It's not funded through Congress, so to speak. So, and it says the FCC works towards 6 goals. That's broadband competition, the spectrum, the media, public safety, and homeland security. But this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. We've been told since the get-go that Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these social medias were developed just to spy on us. So, that's pretty obvious. So as things have gone down as we know it, lots of changes in this last 2 years and all that.
Greg, I'm going to bring you back in, brother. If you can just hold on. I've got a couple of people with their hands up. I'm going to bring you back, so stay with us, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Area code 254, you have your hand up. I'm unmuting your mic. Area code 254. Who have we got? Hello? Wilbur, is that you? Area code 254. Hello, mic is open.
Mic is open. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Becky?
you now. I'm having some problems unmuting folks on the board today, and I thought you were unmuted, but
right.
Clearly you were not. How are you today, Wilbur?
Well, I'm off on
the regime.
Good to see you again. It's open mic today, right?
Yes, it is open mic, and I actually have Bobby Ritter hanging in the line while I'm trying to chat, folks. My co-host and sidekick just texted me and said, Becky, I was holding in line forever, or actually for a while. I said, please come back. I didn't see you. So, go ahead, brother. I'm glad the judge is here. I've had a little bit of when I was speaking last week at the Capitol, I called it kind of a sore throat. It's getting better. I almost got blown off the stage by the wind. It caught my London fog. And everybody thought I was really intense when I was talking. I was holding on to the podium because it was trying to blow me down the stairs. But I had an incident this week, and y'all have been talking way over my head today. I want to ask a question to the judge later, but I want to bring up something. This is something I'm totally on. As you know, I am the nemesis of the Child Protective Services, okay? And this week, yet again, we were hit in this family by the CPS. However, this time it was a little bit, let me tell you the whole story short and sweet. One of the twins came up with what looked like a bruise on his left cheek. So a teacher at the school down here that we work with, instead of taking the twin to the nurse's station, where one of the nurses is actually a nurse who spent several years and worked in ER, very good, and the other nurse is very familiar with all of the children. As usual, this teacher took the child to a secluded area of the school and called the CPS, okay, and put in a complaint. Child had bruise on cheek. Well, the CPS worker couldn't get out in time, so the kid came home. We didn't know anything about it. At 2:30 in the morning, here come the bang on the door, okay, which we never answered. And as soon as I saw the police leave, I called the cops. I said, what's going on? And they said, CPS well check for Christopher and Nicholas. That's the twins, which kind of confused us. So the next day, we took, my ex-wife took the kids all to the doctor, as usual, to check for bruises and psychiatric evals and all that. And I was left to talk with the CPS workers when they got here. Well, they got here. Surprisingly, I was very civilized, which surprised them. They said it was one of the twins had struck the other twin on the face with his fist and apparently left a bruise, and they had to investigate. And I thought, well, a 5-year-old hit another 5-year-old. Okay, I'm very impressed. But here's the clicker. We finally got twin in question with the questionable mark, which I never could see. Come to find out, he had strep throat and what we used to call mumps. The lymph glands swell up. And instead
instead of taking the child to the nurse's station, the teacher, who, by the way, these teachers put in bids for children. When they call CPS, they try to get the child, okay? Called the CPS and turned in a incident where the child had been hurt and exposed the rest of the school to the strep throat virus because the child was not sent home, the child was not given treatment or anything. Now, Becky, I'm down here in beautiful downtown Killeen, we got it all. We even got it. We got Ebola. They don't say anything about it. GI just died over here on the north side of a sore throat. Okay, that came from West Africa. Right. And so what I'm doing tomorrow, or Monday, is I'm going to call some attorneys, and I'm going to say, look, I smell a great big old class action lawsuit here. Anyway, that's my bit.
Wow. So one more time, CPS, and we've done several shows where we've exposed CPS. When I was running for governor, I worked with Mary Kendall, who is the national director for an organization called Vocal, and you and I have held this discussion before, but this is for the other listeners out there. If you or any of your family members have had problems with CPS situations where they have unlawfully taken your children, kidnapped, for lack of better terminology, if not abusing your children, neglecting your children, the government has no right to step up and say anything to you about your children. But there's huge money in the court systems, in the exchange of monetary value for these children. They're put out on a market, so to speak, and it's something that really it's human trafficking, for lack of better terminology. Right. You folks reach out to Mary Kendall at Vocal or Matthew Virgin. He's on my Facebook friends list. He also works with this program, trying to expose and stop the very harassments that you and your family have suffered, resulting in these children being taken away from a family and alienated. The psychological and the emotional damage that is done to those children will last them a lifetime. The after effects are horrible, and they are for all parties concerned, both the family members that have had the children removed and for the children as well. There's a lot of abandonment issues. Children don't understand these things that are going on. And a lot of times they're put into a situation where the persons that they have been placed with either have molested them, killed them, neglected them with purpose, and they've been paid by the federal government to do these things to these children. And I'm not kidding, folks. They look at us as citizens with a fine-tooth microscope, and for several reasons that they have led the populace to believe is okay to do, and that we just need to comply with those types of invasions. So I find it very hard to believe that when they take these children and place them in homes where they are being murdered and abused, that the government hasn't done that with some malcontent, because most certainly they pay those parties to take those children. They should certainly hold them under a microscope before they take anyone's property, their children, or persons, the children, from a family and endanger them truly where they were never in danger before they were taken away. Wilbur, you make, brother, my heart goes out to you, you and your family. You're on a list, and they will continue to target you.
Oh, yeah. Well, the main thing, like I told the caseworker the other night, she sat there, and when this thing comes down Monday, what's the bad part? And your listeners need to be aware of this. If you're a novice dealing with these people, what I just told you is an open and shut thing. We thought the child was hit by another child and had a bruise, and we're investigating the bruise. Okay. Here is a doctor's report. There is no bruise. There is no offense. The child had strep throat. There are lawsuits coming out of this because of the unprofessional behavior of the school, but the child was not injured by another child. Therefore, your investigation should be terminated. Au contraire. Now we have to check your food cabinets. We have to take pictures. We have to do drug testing on everyone in the house, just in case. We have to ask the little girl if she's been diddled. We have to ask the dog if he's been diddled. We have to go, no, you have to leave, okay? Because this is not going to work. because every time you people run across me, you lose an employee or two. That's why they call me Bill the Butcher. Now, do you want to keep your job, or do you want to work at Walmart? There's your choices in life.
Well, we thank you for calling in with that information. I've got a couple other people that have their hands up, brother.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on mute. Did you have a question for Judge Reed before we get off?
One short question, not on that subject. He said something about he didn't believe Barack Obama had ever legally been president. After Barack Obama leaves office, the next president, if they have any sense, can't they just undo everything this illegal president did? Nothing he did had a constitutional right to be done, so all of his executive orders, all of his comments and phone calls and everything are moot. And I just want to know that's a legal thing, and I'll let you go.
Well, I believe that technically you're correct, because if you have constitutional qualifications to be president and he doesn't meet those qualifications, he's unconstitutional. And the theory of unconstitutional is that it was never a law, never had any force and effect.
That's good news. Now all we have to do is get rid of the little Muslim maggot piece of shit, right? That's what we need to do. We've got to find a way to incarcerate him.
Well, we have many tools available. We have many tools available to get rid of Obama, but the problem is that everyone in the Congress and the courts is acting like who wants to put the bell on the mouse. Well, they're little mice.
I'll do it.
We got cowards in Congress and the courts.
Yeah.
There's no question that everybody is turning and looking away that can and does have the power to make a difference.
Wow. It's a sad, sad day when you can't get the patriots to rise up. All they'll do is sit on a keyboard and bitch and complain and share the same information with the same people day in and day out. And then, when researchers like Sarah and you, Judge, and Wilbur and myself and many others in the patriotic movement do the research and we put out new information, we're giving these folks the tools and the knowledge, the patriots across the board, on what we can do to collectively organize and handle our current situation. And you just can't get folks to be proactive. You cannot. I don't care how much information you give them. I don't care how much you expose as far as the imminent danger to their family, the fact that they're feeding them poisons every day on down the line to the evil forces that you mentioned before that have come into this country. We already had our own evil people here, gangs and the likes of criminals like that. But now we are being exposed to terrorists, true terrorists, who behead and kill, and they're here to establish a caliphate, and they're using the 1%er gangs like MS-13 and the other gangs, and they've all formed a coalition with the drug cartel, and the government is funding these invaders as well. So we're really in a bad situation, and you just can't expose enough to them. And listen, knowledge without acknowledgement and action is nothing more than holding space in a brain that's not active anyway, in my opinion. Seriously. If you knowledge is only power if you put action behind it. If you don't exercise your right to do that, why the hell are you even bothering? Why are you wasting my time? Time is the most precious commodity that I have and any other human has. Once this minute is gone, it's gone. So once our opportunity has passed us by and we've let this shit go so long, and so many things are so wrong that at some point there is no turning back without bloodshed, and we're trying to avoid that. But listen, if anybody out there can tell me how to motivate these individuals to get off their asses, to print out things, get out and start talking to people, get on your bullhorn, I don't care what you have to do. Judge Reed had a brilliant idea. Was it the last Thursday of every month in your own town? Go down to your courthouse and meet with other patriots. Go down to your city council chambers and do the same thing. Get up in their face and let them know that you are not good with what's going on, and then it's either going to change or you're going to make the change happen. Give them the option to do the right thing, certainly. But if you see that they are not doing what needs to be done, they work for you. They work for you, the taxpayer, the citizen, they work for you. Fire their asses. Redress them, replace them, have them arrested, whatever you need to do. Get a constitutional sheriff. Exercise your right to be a free people, because a few of us can't get this job done. I'm going to tell you right now, I'd serve the warrant, but I need about 500,000 or 600,000 people behind me saying if you do anything to her and you do not surrender, you're going to answer to us. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to take. Am I correct, Judge? I don't want to see that happen.
Think that every time somebody wants to have a march on Washington with the hope of getting 1 million people, that the problem is not all of us can leave our jobs and take off work and spend the money to get to Washington, D.C., and once you're there, it's $200 and $300 a day to stay there. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm calling for people, instead of marching on Washington, to right in your own county seat, go to your local county courthouse and gather on the courthouse steps all at the same time, at the same night, because as hard it is to get 1 million people out to D.C. for a march, I think we can get 10 and 12 million people in all 50 states at the various county courthouses.
I agree, sir. I think that's a brilliant idea. We have another caller with their hands up. I'm going to go ahead and take the call. Area code 361, you're on live. Who am I speaking with?
This is Rudy. How you doing, Becky?
Hey, brother, I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad you called in. I haven't talked to you in a bit. How's it going, brother?
It's been okay. Kind of a bit of a roller coaster ride, but we call that thing life, you know. It has its ups and downs, but I like to stay up more than down. But you never know when you're up if you're never down. You know, you got to take the good and the bad just how they come, you know. And I'm glad you had that guest, Judge Reese Chambers, and he sounds like a very prominent figure, and he has a colorful history. And we need people with experience, not just community organizers in office. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you very kindly.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was listening to you little rant and stuff like that, and I love hearing your rants, you know, because we know that if Becky already had her coffee, she's ready to put boots to butt, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I have had my coffee.
Yes, ma'am. As you were doing that, I was posting on Warriors Crossing on Facebook and Bug Out Military, and we have a lot of veterans there. And, of course, everybody's always, you know, well, nothing's wrong. It's all, you know, you're wearing a tinfoil hat, so on and so forth, and you got it on too tight. And some people are actually awake. Now, a lot of people like to use that word conspiracy theory, and they like to demonize what's not in style or in fad or whatever. But, like, you know, like you said, you know, the country is going downhill very fast, off the cliff. See that we're falling really slow, but we're still falling. I mean, everybody's got to realize at some point in time something's not quite right. And it's, you know, we're not preaching nothing out of the ordinary. Everybody calls this word prepping. Back in the day, it was just being prepared and, you know, what we called common sense. But nowadays, it seems like it's either a superpower or it's what word I'm looking for. It's you know, it's a crutch, you know, or something that people demonize. You know, common sense. What is that? We would try to be politically correct and appease the masses, and we're going to give these immigrants all these special privileges. Sure, the country was founded on immigrants, but to what point? I mean, we have citizens now. We are a country. Why don't we take care of our own first? And there's no problems coming here the right way legally. We have no problem with that. But are we to the point where we're going to give them our house, our home, our food, and all their services and everything? And what are we going to do? We're going to become immigrants ourselves and on an island? No, this doesn't work, you know. Come on, people, pull your heads out of your collective butt and let's stand up and do what's right, you know. How was this country started? We came out fighting. That's how we did. You know, it doesn't mean physically, you know, if you have the masses behind you, everybody pops their head out of the fourth point of contact, we can actually get something done and everything can be peaceful. You have two people fighting. They don't have to fight. They can both talk it out. They can walk away. There's another way to resolve it. But you got to take into consideration everything that's happening is for a reason, whether it's good or bad. And so the elite were that intelligent. How did it ever get leaked out their plan? Well, it's because they wanted to. It's cause and effect. We tell you this, we give you a little bit of information, it's going to cause you to do something. You know, if we do this and we chip away at your rights, you're going to do something. It's going to affect you in some kind of positive or negative way. Right now it seems to be more negative, and people don't realize that it's slowly chipping away the rights. It's not taking everything all at once, because then, of course, you'll have a revolt. I mean, but everybody's wondering how we do this, how we do that. Well, we watching TV and get off Facebook for a minute and, you know, just take care of our own backyard, take care of our own homes. We realize all across the country, that'll send a powerful message, because Washington would stay in Washington, and the country will be a country. But
listen, Rudy, we all get frustrated, and Rudy, you and I talk on the phone all the time. You know how frustrated I get, brother. I get frustrated. I do. I feel like some days every effort that I'm making, every hour that I've given, is just like, why am I doing this? Why am I painting this target on my forehead if these people that I love so much in this country, that I love so much, it will not rise up? I mean, it's not my obligation, or Judge Reed's, or yours, or Sarah's, or Scott Ferrello, or any Bobby, all of it. It's not our sole responsibility to handle this situation. It is each individual's obligation to handle the situation because of their self and their families and their property and prosperity and so on and so on and so on. Their future lies in their hands, and it's going. At the end of the day, here's how it's going to go. Are your efforts worthy of what you really truly believe that your God-given right is as a human being to prosper and to thrive, for your children to do the same? Leave a lineage behind that has a secure future, one without a Muslim whacking their head off or being raped or killed by a foreign invader, or even the thugs that are homegrown here. I mean, seriously, you've got to put a value on your own life and your own family and go, my God, I'm going to do everything I can to help correct this situation. Because if you folks don't do that, you know what? Don't bother me. Please get on down the road, because you are an anchor that is dragging weight behind the folks that are trying to get this done. We want to see real people step up and identify themselves so that we know who our allies are, who are intelligent enough to understand that truth tastes like shit sometimes, but we have to deliver the truth. Do your research, step up and take some action. Go ahead.
I believe you're absolutely right, and I agree 100%. A lot of people don't realize you're seeing the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in our own backyard. They're trying to form a political party, and they're doing everything the right way. But you know what? Yeah. They're not coming over here for the good old red, white, and blue. They're not coming over here for a better life. They're coming over here to instill Sharia law and their way of life. Well, that's fine. I've got no problem with their way of life, but we already kind of had our own way of life here. And it was supposed to be about freedom and respecting each other. And, you can have your views. I've got mine. We can speak our point across, and everything's fine. We don't have to worry about people kicking in our doors. We don't have to worry about saying nothing too loud because we might offend somebody. But that would be our own point of view. And I believe I can have my point of view, and it might not be your point of view, but we're not going to go and fight each other and quarrel and give you an ultimatum. You look at the way I do things, or I'll cut your head off. Wait a minute. That sounds a little bit harsh. I kind of like my head where it's at, even though there's not much left in there. I'd like to think that it's kind of worthy for me to live out the rest of my life with,
Yeah, I do. I've got a quick, we're going to take another caller. These 2 hours are flying by, okay, folks? 602, I've opened your mic up. Who have I got? 602, you have your hand up.
That's Karen in Arizona.
Hey, Karen, how are you doing, sis?
Pretty good. I'm
what
listening
can I do
in
for you today? I saw your hand up. So what's going on?
It is just, everything is just so bad. I mean, I was listening to what the judge was saying about the this next election coming up, I've done so much research lately, and I've gotten to the point where, the U.S. dissolved itself October 25th, 2014, and since that time, Washington, D.C. is under the UN control, which is funded and run by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. So we've got a big problem here. And then they've taken control of the FCC is taking control of the internet. They're banning ammunition. Plus, then they've got all that ammunition that they've stockpiled, billions and billions of rounds. And this is not a play date. They mean us great harm. Great harm. And I've done so much research in the last few months, and I've gotten to the point where, our votes do not count. They never did. There is merely a suggestion. They're going to put in place who they want in place. And I've got to this point so bad that I canceled my voter card, because that voter card, all it makes me, it puts me under federal jurisdiction of the United States of America Corporation. And that's what they've done. They've done so much trickery since 1871 to the American people. And then they've gone and they've done, we've been in soft martial law since the Civil War, because once it was called by Lincoln, it was never, they never wrote, they never ratified it out. It's always been there. That's why all these executive orders have come about, because they never took it out.
Wow.
And then we've got this Obama in that office, and he's just doing whatever he wants. And Congress and the Senate, they're sitting on their hands and their laurels, and they're not about to go against him full-fledged and forcefully, because I can guarantee Obama and his minions and the people that put him there have got so much dirt on these people up there, they don't want this dirt out in the public. That's how they keep quiet.
That's how I think that Obamacare was ruled constitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court. I think they had stuff on the Chief Justice.
Probably.
Wow.
Probably.
Yeah.
Wow.
There were some irregularities in his adoption of a child. I think they went to him and said, if you give us trouble, you got more trouble than you can bargain for.
That's what I'm talking about. Everybody's dirty up there. They're all a bunch of wackos, and well, not all of them, but there's so many I can't keep track anymore. And they get themselves in these positions where they've got information on these people that will bring them down and more than likely imprison them. And of course they're going to do what they're told to do, because they know all this information is being held, and those are the cards that are being played.
Plus,
they have been never have that.
Monitoring every cell phone conversation, every email transmission, every text message. The National Security Agency now has Gestapo files on every American, who they talk to, what they talk about, and then the computers sift through the information, the dossiers are made, and then they created what they call fusion centers. Fusion centers are very scary places. This is where the CIA, the NSA, and all the federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies sit down with state, county, and local law enforcement agencies, and they all trade inside spycraft information on American citizens that are not suspected of any crimes.
Exactly.
Now, when the time comes to declare martial law...
They're trading with the Enemies Act. We are the enemies.
When they do declare martial law, I expect that the fusion centers will have long lists. I know my name's on it. Becky, your name's on it. Lots of ordinary Americans' names are on it. These people are going to be rounded up. They got the FEMA camps that are concentration camps.
Oh, yeah.
Word's out that the Army has purchased 30,000 guillotines. No state allows decapitation, so why does the U.S. government own guillotines? Well, let's just ask the Muslim Brotherhood members.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood people in government believe in beheading, so it's not a problem.
Right.
Well, that's who's
and then we've got the Sharia czar up there in the White House, so yeah, why do we have one of those?
Well, I have asked for Congress to start a Senate or House investigation of the Muslim Brotherhood influence in agencies of government, and for the Muslim Brotherhood to be declared a terrorist organization just like it is in Egypt.
They won't do it.
I know. And what's worse, talking to a congressman or talking to a conservative. Both are like herding cats.
Wow, that's true.
Yes.
Well, I tell you, I'm going to do a show. I'm actually going to start doing a show at least once a week. I'm going to try to do one 2 times a week that will be a completely different conversation than the one that's been held here today. I believe, and I talked to Scott about it when he was on the show the other day, I believe that it's time now for us to quit exchanging nothing but, the woe is me and the shit that's going down and complaining about patriots who refuse to be active, take action. I think that at this point we need to have a show called Resolution a couple of times a week where great minds with great knowledge like yourself, Sarah, me, Scott, and some of the others, Bobby, and some of the other guests that I've had on the show, and some of the other great leaders on other blog talk shows. I believe that if we would collectively come together and bring nothing to the table that evening for our listening audiences, but plans of action, creative knowledge, and a way to organize for resolution. What do you guys think about that?
Well, we've got to come up with something because nothing political will work.
I was on the late night radio show, Coast to Coast, where you call in the 800 number if you're east of the Rockies and west of the Rockies and all that. Yeah. And I suggested to people who are sincerely worried about the government misconduct of eventually kicking in doors and taking people's private weapons, I suggested at the time that they take a look at the movie The Godfather. And when the Godfather had been shot and was in the hospital, and Michael came by to see his dad and noticed that all the bodyguards had been run out by the cops, he knew that the hit was back on to kill the Godfather. You remember that scene? And the crooked police captain broke his jaw? Well, here comes a car careening up with the lawyer in it. The lawyer gets out and gives his business card to the crooked police captain and introduces himself as the lawyer for the Corleone family. Gesturing to the guys running up the steps of the hospital, he said, "These men are licensed private detectives. They're authorized to carry firearms. If you interfere, you'll have to appear in court and show cause. Do you understand me, Captain?" Well, that was the end of the police captain. That's when a little light in the back of my head went on. I said, I think people would do well to file the papers to start a private business to be an armed security police agency. Because when they round up the guns, they're never going to take the guns away from the Brinks guards. Now, the fusion centers are already running screens and making lists of everybody in the private militia world, and they can expect a knock on the door, and it ain't going to be CPS in the middle of the night. These people are going to drag you away and put you in a FEMA camp.
Right.
So I'm going to recommend that millions of new armed security agencies and armed private detective agencies and armed process service agencies, et cetera, all get organized, registered with the powers that be, so that just like that lawyer shutting down that crooked cop, these men are licensed private detectives. They're authorized to carry firearms. If you
Judge, we lost you. Hello.
I see this point there, but look at this Chicago story that's been going around about this detention center where they're putting people and holding them hostage and not letting them have a lawyer for 18 or 24 hours. It's not called a fusion center, but I'm assuming it's kind of something very similar, and they're not getting appropriate care, bathroom breaks, or anything else. But we've back when we were starting our research several years ago, they had contingency plans for riots where they move everybody into like a stadium and they have chain link little fences set up and all that. Now, I've read all this stuff for years and years and years. Unless you see it, I don't know how much is true and not true and how much is this, that, and the other. But sometimes DHS actually comes out and admits some stuff if you watch them real carefully.
I'm sorry, I was laughing at Scott. Scott is actually in chat with me right now on Facebook. I've been running chat, neglected my host, and he's being funny. I agree. I agree, and you know, Judge Chambers brings so much to the table, and he was so very effective in direction and advice when he was working with me during my campaign. If the feds hadn't stepped in, I would have had one hell of a run. I guarantee things would have probably been a little bit different here in Texas. But that's not the way it went, and obviously God's will is still working, or I would not still be very vocal. Judge Reed, if you can hear us, I need you to call back in. We lost you. Your audio went out. Most likely that's the government. So let's say hi to the NSA. Get off my fucking show. None of your damn business. You're not here to learn something and effectively do your job and quit being a traitor and a treasonous. Then get off my show. You got no business here. You're part of the problem.
Because after all this FCC stuff goes down, I'm sure that we won't even have enough broadband to do Blog Talk Radio. I'm sure they'll work on that right off the bat. They're going to distribute the bandwidth so everybody can have equal bandwidth, whether you pay for it or not. No, I'm saying that. I don't know. I've done my reading. But as I told my people, we haven't seen the 332 pages. So at this point, everything's speculation. So.
Right. Well, you know, they're going to try to silence us any way they can, and they've certainly done everything they can to shut me down, and I'm still kicking and screaming. I will find a way to circumvent them. You see, a woman with determination who is guarding a den, and her cubs are in the midst of danger, that bitch doesn't give up, and that's who I am. So, and they need to know that. I'm not afraid to live. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid of the damn camp. Kick my door in. You're not going to put me in a memory foam bed in some friggin' FEMA camp or jailhouse where you can abuse me psychologically and physically until you torture me and kill me. You kiss my ass. You kiss my ass. I'm not going there. We're not going to. That's not how this story's going to end. I've read the end of the book. I know exactly how this story ends, and I'm doing exactly what I feel God has directed me to do. And I leave a nasty taste in a lot of people's mouths with my presentation, but, you know, this isn't about eloquence. This is about truth, and that's why I say I'm the truth stinger. That's
well,
who I
am a little concerned and disappointed out of that story out of Bryan, Texas, where the sheriff's department, local cops, and the feds all went in and busted up a meeting. That concerns me because, you know, we've been led to believe our sheriffs are on our side, and I don't have all the facts, you know, I'm reading what I can, but it doesn't seem like they really had authority and the proper warrants to do half of what they did. They were there. Nobody was ever arrested, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I would think that you had to be arrested before they could get your fingerprints. And it was my understanding that they took their cell phones and their computers and all kinds of stuff. I just don't know if the sheriff's department are going to be complicit with this kind of behavior without going by the law, and in Texas especially, that concerns me.
Well, we know Greg Abbott was on the take concerning the Common Core issue. Yes, sir, Governor Abbott, I'm talking about you. He's as crooked as Perry was. Perry is guilty of treason. He's guilty of a whole lot of crimes here in Texas over 15 years. He has gotten Texas to a point where we are really in duress. We're under attack on many levels from the Sharia court, which they call arbitrary courts, and that's how they're trying to get away with this bullshit.
Voluntary. You know? Yeah, right.
Pardon? Yeah,
Texas
arbitrary, my ass. Those courts. Yeah, those four Muslim cockroaches running that Sharia court even had on their website that they were all attorneys at law. Then a reporter turned that in as fraudulent, and they removed it. Now, that indeed tells you that they were trying to practice law without a law license in the state of Texas under laws that aren't the laws of this land or this state, most certainly. Judge Reed is back with us. Judge, for some reason, they didn't want us to let our listeners hear what you had to say. So, sir, you must have been correct on your point.
Well, that happens a lot now, doesn't it? We're all under heavy-duty surveillance. The Gestapo is in our midst and is alive and well, and liberty is starting to be a flickering flame.
Yeah. I tell them frequently, brother, when they're on here harassing me and on my phone harassing me in other places, you got families too. You better go home with your wife and your children and understand that when they get finished with you and you're of no use to them, any further use, they're going to eat your ass just like they're trying to eat us.
So let's take a look at our institutions of government that have gone rogue on us. The public schools are now a den of communists and socialists and social change artists, where they're bringing in the homosexual agenda and are criminalizing if you have a traditional viewpoint or if you're a Christian. The schools are in treachery to the general public, period. We have the renegade intelligence agencies and the police agencies, because they're on federal grants, are now getting all suited up as stormtroopers with armored vehicles and machine guns. What used to be a couple times a year SWAT team operation when there was something really heavy duty going down has now turned into a 200 times a year standard operating procedure. Right. And you can just see what happens. You get stopped by a regular police officer, and they tell you get out of your car, you know.
Right.
When did we have to start getting on your knees for a police officer or any public official?
Oh, it's been many years now, but it's a fast turn of events.
If there's no violence offered to that police officer, the police officer should not give violence to you. They shouldn't make you get down and lay down on your belly and put their knee on your back and handcuff you behind your back and all that, this and that, if you're not fighting them. Yeah. Then they come up with, I'm going to handcuff you for your protection and mine, but you're not under arrest. Well, if you're not under arrest, you shouldn't be in cuffs and you're not offering violence. Your freedom has been impinged there, and some guys write books and manuals and call it training manuals, and they publish them and distribute them among sheriffs, and they call that rules of procedure and have the force effective law, but all they are is stupid books that people write that were never approved by anybody. For instance, we used to be able to go down to the county courthouse to go to the recorder of deeds office or the tax assessor or any public agency. Now you have to go through the metal detector. You have to empty your pocket. Men are told to remove their shoes and their belts and everything else. What is going on with America? If they're really afraid that people are going to assassinate judges, well, then they ought to hire more deputies to patrol the hallways and courtrooms without shaking down the people.
Better just remove the corrupt judges and hold them accountable for their crimes. You know, you want to disarm the people, remove the corruption.
Yeah, and what we really need is term limits for everybody in government, including the public employees. I'm convinced that a bureaucrat is a Hitler with a rubber stamp that says no. Just like these CPS people. They've become a Gestapo of their own. So what we need to do is replace the entire government bureaucracy with part-time workers. So I'm proposing that from age 20 to 30, all of us have community service. And when you're 30 years old, you're a military veteran. You can buy a house on the VA mortgage. You've worked in federal, state, and local government. And guess what? We just abolished all those horrific government pensions that are way too high.
Yeah.
Everybody works for a while.
Not to mention, you just addressed a whole other entity that has become a great villain to people, and it's a huge part of the corruption, and I'm talking about unions.
Yes.
You know, they're a huge addition to corruption with the lobbyists that they have in place and scratching the hands of the politicians for government contracts, new rules and regulations. It's just, it's unbelievable. We could do a whole show on union corruption and its ties to the government, you know. And it taxes the union members. The union, they call it a due, but it's nothing more than another tax for your privilege. It's what the mafia used when they established themselves in countries They come in and tell you, you pay me X amount of dollars and we'll give you protection. Well, who the hell are they protecting them from? They're actually being protected from the very person that's taking that money, because you're assured that you will be extorted even further and possibly harmed or killed, and your property being destroyed or your business being destroyed. It's nothing more than another branch of mafia, in my opinion.
Well, everything is corrupt. Everything is corrupt. The government is corrupt. The intelligence and law enforcement agencies are corrupt.
Yeah. Well, I for one, Becky Williams, a.k.a. Governor, a.k.a. Patriot Goddess, a.k.a. Truthstinger, Reba Truthstinger, I for one I'm tired of this shit, and it is time, for the truth to come out and for a true change to come about, assuring the safety and prosperity of the Americans, period. It needs to change. Something has got to change, because this levee is about to break. There is a crack in the dam.
Well, we need to stop paying the United Nations dues. We need to stop giving contributions to the World Bank. We need to stop giving away money to foreign nations that hate our guts.
Yeah. Hey, Judge, have you noticed that since the cockroach has been up there in the White House, Princess Berry, have you noticed that our now perceived allies are all the very entities of Islam, the very root of evil that supposedly we have sent our soldiers over to be slaughtered by and to kill and destroy? Don't you find it really odd that those are our allies, and that we have alienated the true allies of America, logistically speaking, when it comes to backing us up in any war situation?
Our enemies do not fear us.
There's no white horse coming to save us. We do not have an ally that's coming to save us. What he's done is lined us up with people who want to destroy us. And I don't know about you guys listening out there, but that pisses me off. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Yes, our enemies do not fear us, and our allies now are resentful of us because we have done wrong.
Wow. That's a whole nother show. That would be the Becky Williams I'm pissed off and America's going to know about it show. I'll tell you that for free. That'll have some pretty hard
good news.
Deliverance.
I'm a long shot dark horse candidate if I run for vice president, but if lightning strikes in the right place, and if I lift my hand to take the oath of office in 2017 at noon on January 20th, I will then and there pronounce the funeral of political correctness and the empowerment of precision thinking. Precision thinking is the opposite of political correctness. You say exactly what you mean to say and what you're thinking in your head.
As it should be. As it should be, and I'm definitely one of those people. Sarah, do you have anything else? We're coming down into the 5-minute mark, and I would definitely like to hear anything that you'd like to add in closing. Then I'm going to go back to Rudy and Sarah, who are still on the line, as well as Greg, if he's still with us. And let's open the lines up. I think we lost Greg. I believe we lost 816. That was you, brother, coming back in. I believe we have Rudy, Sarah, Karen, and Judge. So, Sarah, I'm going to give you a minute. Go ahead and give us your closing, sis.
I'll just say, good night or evening, and a lot of good topics today. Long way to go. I'm trying not to say anything negative, but I just don't have a lot positive to say, so I'll keep my negativity to myself. I mean, I've been fighting this fight a long time, and I hope and pray something changes. It's just kind of hard to visualize it right now. With all we're looking at, but all we can do is you can't quit, no matter how down you get. You can't quit. You have to fight, and I'll just let it go with that.
Well, Sarah, I've certainly enjoyed having you on the panel today. You brought a lot to the table, and I would invite you back any time that you will have a place on Rage Against the Regime. So please keep an eye out for us, and if you have something that you want to broadcast or you feel like you have an idea for a show that you want to bring to the table, just let me know and I'll make it happen. Thank you again.
All right,
go ahead. Go ahead. Sarah?
Oh, I said thank you. I'll mute
You're
myself
welcome.
now.
All right. I'm going to bring the mic to Rudy. Rudy, you have something to add to closing, brother.
Yeah, of course. I always got something to say. Truth, new hate speech. I like this whole this whole precision thinking. I like that idea. It's powerful. Since political correctness, appeasement, that seems to be the cornerstone and the beginning of our downfall, if you will. But I'd like to thank Judge Reed Chambers for appearing on the show and just telling how it is. I appreciate that, brother. And Becky, thank you for having us on the show. I'll be with you all.
I appreciate it. I love you, brother, and don't be a stranger. You can call me anytime. You know that. Karen, are you still with us,
yes,
sister?
I am.
Yes. What would you like to bring to the closing on the show today?
Well, and the last things I should like to say is that, nobody's going to do this for us. The government's no help. They're actually against us, not with us. And if something's going to get done, it's going to have to be us that do it because we cannot expect any help from them. None.
Well, you're invited back to the panel as well, and I do agree with you on that completely, and I believe the rest of the panel here is in line with the same thinking. I'd like to invite you back and invite you to be a part of that resolution show. I certainly need some critical thinkers in that arena so that we can deliver some hope instead of despair to the folks out here.
I would enjoy coming back.
Fantastic. I want to thank you for calling in today. I do appreciate you. Rudy, Sarah, I appreciate you. Judge, would you like to close with a statement, sir?
Absolutely. Because government has become corrupt from the White House to the State House to the courthouse, we are now over the threshold where in order to govern this country, we, the people, are going to have to start being more proactive about passing ballot petitions and putting things up to a public vote statewide to amend state constitutions and to put in new laws and to repeal other laws by vote of the people. We have to be citizen legislators. We've got a whole bunch of laws on the books that they have quietly been putting on that is the problem. Government is the problem, and Ronald Reagan was right. We need to pass more petitions, more ballot propositions, and strike down the creeping socialism and the anti-liberty laws that now weigh us down.
I agree with you, sir. And Judge, I'd like to invite you back. I understand you have a show that you're going to be doing as well. Would you like to announce that on this show, or would you like to wait until you have that in order?
I've been invited to have a talk radio show on Haywire Gulch Patriot Radio. It's a internet radio station, and I'll be doing that starting sometime in the next couple of weeks. Right now I'm on medical leave because I have some medical problems, but that's going to be developing in March.
All right. Well, fantastic. We look forward to that show. I would like to give a plug to Bill and VeraGuard. VeraGuard is a supplement that you can take that fights all viruses and diseases. Bill can be with us today. I want you guys to keep VeraGuard in mind. Go look him up. He's has a VeraGuard page on Facebook. Go look at it. He gives $5 of his proceeds to the Casey Massey case. And for my listeners, you know who Casey Massey is. He caught a federal charge down on the border while protecting the citizens of this state. So look up VeraGuard. I can testify that it does work. I had the flu and I was deathly ill, and within just a number of days, like 2 days of taking VeraGuard, it eradicated that from my system. So look up VeraGuard. Also, look for Boss, my new business on Matagorda Island. It's be coming to fruition very soon. We're looking for a March 15th soft launch. for a military-grade training camp. Anybody that doesn't know about it, wants more information, please reach out to me on Facebook. We'll have that conversation in an instant message. This is Becky Williams. I want to thank everybody again for listening, and for my panel, God bless each and every one of you. Bobby Ritter will have a Rage Against the Regime show when he gets back from vacation. I have some great guests coming next week. I will announce that on Monday. So until next time, this is Becky Williams with Rage Against the Regime. You guys have a blessed day.
Stay safe.